right now and so far through Heupel's entire tenure, that offense just doesn't travel. It just doesn't. And I'm interested to see if it does come to life in Neyland this week against Florida.
You
And
got to get Mike Matthews out there. I've been
do
saying it for
something.
2 weeks at this point. That guy is the most talented wide receiver on your roster. Chris Brazzell at this point, we'll see how it transpires. It's too early to call him a bust, and that's why I'm not on board with like
Eh.
Nico sucks or Nico's overrated or anything. Like, you got to let it play out. We got 6 games to go off of. We're not going to hot take it at this point. We're too far into this, I feel like, to just throw out random hot takes. But Matthews looks like the most talented, like, possible future NFL guy in that wide receiver group. Get him on the field. I mean, they're doing it at Alabama with Ron Williams. They're doing it with Jeremiah Smith at Ohio State. I don't care what kind of offense you run. He doesn't have to fit into your offense. You got to fit him. You got to
Exactly.
figure out a way to make it work for him and to get him on the field. Whatever it is, you're an offensive guru, Josh Heupel. You got to figure out how to get that guy the ball because he's got great ball skills, great body control. He's fast. It's leaving him on the bench it's inexcusable, I think, especially when you see other guys at big programs that same age with a similar recruiting ranking, making huge impacts right now. And Mike Matthews has like 2 catches on the season.
Yeah, it is pretty egregious with the injury situation. Again, Squirrel White probably out, Brew McCoy probably out. And so now's the time. I don't know who will return punts. Maybe Boo Carter, not Cam Selden. So we'll see. And Squirrel
I
White
think
said
Jermod McCoy had been returning some at some point.
maybe, and we gotta not to rub salt in the wound for an already hurt Squirrel White. You gotta field that punt at the end of the game. You have to. And it turned out that 20 yards that it forfeited by him letting it bounce was massive.
Yeah, like our guy Craig said in the group text, like an ode to Butch is the hidden yards in the game that you don't think about. And it's true. It is true.
Yeah, it's Butch's hidden yards there where it's 20 yards you didn't have to give up. And so your ensuing punt, when the offense failed on that drive, goes 20 yards behind where it would have otherwise. And 20 yards would have been the entire game. They had a backup kicker in there that was terrible. And, you would have been putting it on that dude to win the game from maybe like a 50-yard kick. I mean, Lord knows. It would have been a completely different situation with those extra 20 yards if they ended up moving the ball at all. Who knows? Maybe you don't give up that giant run. And it's just there was just so many things, and we could talk circles around it. But let's end this conversation before we move on to the actual Florida prediction. Zach, I haven't even talked 1 second about Florida. A lot of people have been saying now with how just wretched the offense is. Was Alex Golesh, the now South Florida coach, was he kind of the secret sauce, so to speak? I've been trying to formulate an opinion on this, and I'll give mine in a second, but I'll start there, Zach. I mean, it's a fair point. The offense, since he left, has not been as good. At the same time, Hendon Hooker and Jalen Hyatt also went out the door at the same time as Alex Golesh. What say you?
Yeah, I think they definitely lost some talent. Jalen Hyatt, Hendon Hooker, like you said. Darnell Wright was an NFL offensive tackle that's starting for the Bears. Jerome Carvin was really good on that offensive line. That's part of it there, but I do think losing Golesh was a big hit to this offense. I think, and I don't think it's just that Golesh necessarily has the secrets to the system better than Heupel or can draw up better plays. I think it's that Golesh, he had a bit of an edge to him. He coached with a chip on his shoulder. He really wanted to win. He hated being the underdog. He hated thinking of anything like that. I remember when they played against Alabama in 2022. He's like, hey, they got great players. So do we. We got to go out there and play the game. Like, he always kind of had that attitude. I thought that permeated to the rest of the team. I think more than anything is Golesh, from what we understand and what he has said since he left Tennessee at USF, is that he was calling the plays at Tennessee. He was in the box actually the one calling the plays and not Josh Heupel. And he talked about how he thanked Heupel for giving him that opportunity. So I think that was a big deal. It took all that off of Heupel, and you had a guy that Heupel completely trusted up there in the box, and you see the game up there from such a different angle than you do down on the field. You see things that you don't see on the field in real time. You kind of get the flow of the game, the momentum. It's easy. It's not as easy when you go back after the series and look at the pictures and you're like, oh, we got to do this, this, and this. I mean, it's just different. I feel like coaching from up there. When he was the one calling the plays, it took that off of Heupel. It just let him be the coach. It's really hard to do both at the same time. I think I know a lot of people do it. They do it in the NFL with like Kyle Shanahan and Sean McVay and Zach Taylor and some of these other guys. I just don't always think it's the ideal situation, especially in college where there's just so much going on and you're getting these different looks thrown at you. I think that was a huge piece of it. And I don't think he trusts Joey Hosley in the same way. And even if he does, he's not Golesh, right? Like they're not going to see it the same way. I don't think he has the same edge to him. And I think Golesh was a little more creative and a little more, I think he just kind of inspired confidence too with some of his play calling. And he never called plays scared. Like you never saw that. And we have seen that more in the last year and a half than we did the previous 2 years, combined. I do think there's something to it. It's hard to know for sure how much that's impacted it, but I mean, you just look at the numbers and look at what's happened. I mean, look, in 2021 when Golesh was there, Javonte Payton walked into that system and never played in it before and scored, 7-8 touchdowns. Cedric Tillman had a huge year. Velus Jones had a huge year. Those guys have done nothing since they left Tennessee. Peyton couldn't stick on a roster. Velus Jones is almost going to get cut at this point. He's so unproductive for the Bears. And Tillman can barely get on the field for the Browns. Even Jalen Hyatt's had trouble getting on the field with the Giants and making an impact. I think they're kind of misusing him a little bit, but still, he got the most out of those guys, and you haven't really seen that since Golesh left. So there's definitely something to it. I don't know how much.
I don't think it's just straight up Golesh walked out and that it was that simple. His offense is not very good this year at USF, actually. Go check the stats. They're like 2-3 on the year, and he's
probably calling the plays there. I don't know for sure, but I would bet that he is. It's a tough thing to do.
It is. Football is back, and what better way to bet on the big games than on Zen Sports, the new sportsbook in Tennessee that's bringing sports betting to a whole new level. When you sign up for Zen Sports, you'll automatically earn up to a $100 no-danger first wager. If your first bet loses, you'll be reimbursed for the amount of your bet up to $100. And for the football season, Zen Sports is launching a revamped betting platform for both college football and the NFL. And what's better? With our new look, Zen Sports will be offering daily promotions, including odds boosts, same-game parlays, no-danger wagers, and much more. Zen Sports also offers a one-of-a-kind VIP rewards program, and if you qualify, you can earn monthly comps at sporting events, concerts, and even sportsbook bonuses. It's by invite only, so go to zensports.com/VIP for details. What are you waiting for, football fans? Start betting with Zen Sports, where you will receive true odds on all parlays and an enhanced user experience. Get going. Download their app at zensports.com today. Zen Sports betting just got better. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-889-9789. Terms and conditions apply. No danger. First wager limited to plus 500 odds to qualify. Boosted odds are derived from equivalent parlay bets offered in Tennessee. Must be 21 or older in Tennessee to bet. Zen Sports. It's not just that simple of like, he's the complete X factor, right? Maybe if he gets fired, you could bring him back. Who knows? That you're at least a couple of years away from that minimum. So I don't think it's that simple. Hendon Hooker was really, really special and had traits that Nico simply can't have yet. I mean, he maybe could if he was just a, ridiculously talented guy, which he is ridiculously talented, but ridiculously talented and completely had the mental side of things down. And
was really confident.
Yes. I mean, there are just so few guys that skip all those steps. Your Johnny Manziel's, your Jameis Winston's. I mean, it's so few and far between.
He was also much older. I think we gotta point that out.
Exactly. He played a ton of football, and I think Hendon made a big difference there. and Jalen Hyatt did, and just some of the elements there that took that offense a step above. And now Darnell Wright, are you kidding me? I mean, that dude. And again, another element, we're just simply not going to have time to talk about it. But Glenn Ellerby in the offensive line, I mean, what the heck is going on there? Zero development, and hasn't brought in guys that actually end up playing. And Darnell Wright, who is actually a pro recruit's the only really truly elite guy he's had in his entire time here. It's a whole separate conversation. But Golesh, he had those pieces that it ends up were super special. And now you have an offensive line that can't function. I do think that the relationship between Heupel and Hasley it's not what it was with Golesh. I will 100% give it that much. That whole synergy was way better with Golesh, and that absolutely counts for something.
I don't know much about Hasley, but he seems not that compelling. And I know that could be something that's like you kind of roll your eyes at, but I think there's something to that at times. Like Golesh was a unique guy.
Yes.
It was a lot more compelling and just I don't know. Maybe there's nothing to that at all. It's just an observation from watching them. It's very different.
I really, if this doesn't improve over the course of the season, and I really hope it does, and we don't have to have this conversation, but I do think it could probably benefit Heupel to bring in maybe a new OC and a fresh voice there, and an outside voice that isn't just a dude that he's brought up in his system. And of course, that could also be disastrous. Like you could bring in somebody who has a who's hard headed and doesn't want to work with you, and there's plenty that could go wrong there. But maybe that, and right now, especially an offensive line coach, like somebody, Heupel's a good old boy network guy. He likes to hire his guys. He likes to keep it in house. He goes with guys that he trusts.
Something about Tennessee coaching and coaches and hiring their friends as offensive line coach is
what is it, man?
Undoing. Don Mahoney with Butch was such a problem. Will Friend, Jeremy Pruitt was going to sink him. It seemed like that's just. And Ellerby's been with Heupel since the Missouri days, and he's a guy that he trusts and that he really likes. They're obviously super close, almost a decade together. I don't know. I mean, you can't move on from him after this year, I don't think. You got David Sanders in the boat. You got that guy on campus no matter what. He's a game changer, future NFL type guy that I don't think any SEC offensive line coach is going to mess up, but I mean, something's got to get better there, and you can't let that guy sink the whole ship if that's the problem.
For sure, and we are yet to see Heupel have any amount of willingness to make moves like that when it's needed. I mean, I think you've seen Willie Martinez, who has done an incredibly subpar job during his time at Tennessee. The season looks a little better. They got worked though during that Arkansas game to a certain extent. It wasn't. It's still, I still see improvements. I will give them that much, and I think Jermont McCoy is a good player. But, there has just been no evidence that he's willing to do anything other than just hire his friends, keep it in house, do these things. And I hope that doesn't become an element that ends up being, his unwinding, because it has happened to plenty of coaches at Tennessee itself. That's happened to coaches where they just, they're so hard headed that they won't change their ways that way. And I hope it's the same with this offensive system. If you have to make adjustments, make adjustments. If you got to let your guys go be dogs, let them go be dogs. And if it's something like going to get a new offensive coordinator, go get a new offensive coordinator. I don't care. You got to figure it out. And I'm hoping that it's just a function of time with Hasley, and just eventually these pieces start to fall in place as Nico continues to get more under his belt, playing at home without potentially the false starts, and with an offensive line that can maybe hold up a little bit better, not in the hostile environment. 4 straight games like that, plenty of time to grow. Hopefully they can get it together. But I don't totally subscribe to it was just Alex Golesh. He's the X factor, and Heupel's going to suck without him. I don't subscribe to that, but I do subscribe to the fact that, I don't think you can even dispute it, things worked better with Alex Golesh as the offensive coordinator, period. They just did. I don't know. Show me some evidence that that's not the case.
Yeah, even in 2021, when they went 7-6, it was a much more exciting offensive product on the field.
Was.
They were losing to Alabama and Georgia but they were also throwing 75-yard touchdowns against those teams and putting them
Yep.
in conflict and coming up and at least making those guys like, they're here for the full 60. We got to go play type deal. So even then, when they lost 6 games, the offense was a much different product than what we've seen over the last year and a half.
Well, there's our quick take on that. Now,